Hi, Sandy.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell us about this announcement around business ecology.
So we're hearing a lot about service-oriented architecture, and as it enters the mainstream, you got to think about how it fits together with things like business process management, like your green sustainability point of view, and most importantly, from my point of view, because I'm a standards guy, how it fits together with your strategy, not only standards internally in your organization, but standards across the country, across the world. Business ecology is that point of view that pulls these things together and says, how are we going to avoid waste in our organizations? How are we going to reuse whatever we can reuse? How are we going to optimize our business processes, streamline them over time, and deliver a better experience to our customers, to our suppliers, all across the service or supply chain?
Great, so I know today you have an SOA consortium and a BPM consortium. What does that mean for SOA and BPM consortiums?
So in fact, today we run several of these advocacy groups, Sandy, user groups focused on service-oriented architecture. As you know, since IBM was one of the founders of that organization. The Service-Oriented Architecture Consortium has been around for 3 years and has brought together all kinds of great success stories, case studies around organizations that have successfully moved into service-oriented architecture. We have a case study program last year that had 5 winners that were announced here. We're going to be talking about this year's program tomorrow in session. We have a BPM consortium that's focused on business process management. We have a green CIO consortium that's focused on green computing and how to get the most value out of lowering waste in your organization. What pulls these together is that idea of business ecology, of minimizing waste, optimizing business processes, streamlining business processes. That means, however, we've got to make a holistic view that pulls those things together. These are not just point things that are all separate. We need a view, and we're being told by CIOs every day, they've got to bring together the view of service-oriented architecture, business process management, green, and standards. So as a first step, we're bringing together the lessons learned from the SOA consortium, which was always meant to be a 3-year process, into our BPM and SOA consortium that will relaunch next year, bringing together all those concepts of BPM and SOA.
So what does it mean for folks sitting here in the audience?
Well, that's a great question. I bet that's what they really wanted to ask. They probably didn't want to ask me to do bird calls, but since I'm a Bostonian, I will. Look, Larry Bird. It's the best bird call in 2 days. What that means is stop listening to these stories about individually service-oriented architecture, BPM, cloud, and all these different pieces, because there's all one holistic whole, which is streamlining your business processes, optimizing your business processes, lowering waste. That waste can be the green sort of waste, power and paper and water, but it's also waste in your process. Using people where you could use automation, using people where you could use them better. So what it means is all these lessons you've been hearing all morning, these pieces fit together. They're not point solutions. And that's what we think of as a business ecology continuum. Okay,
last question. I see cloud on the chart too. How does cloud fit in?
Well, cloud is one of those key ideas, which is how do we fit together the computing that's on my desktop, the computing that's in my data center, and the computing that's out in the cloud somewhere. And really that's a rent versus buy decision, right? And a rent versus buy decision is a decision about streamlining business processes. Sometimes it makes sense to run it here. Sometimes it makes sense to run it in my data center somewhere in the world. Sometimes it makes sense to move it out into the cloud. It's another one of those across the spectrum business ecology questions.
Okay, super. Thank you, Richard. And Richard will be at our blogs for today as well.
Thank you very
so
much,
Richard. Thank you.